you're mad at the storyteller because they've done something wrong, the idea is that you let yourself be mad so that when you meet someone else, you can say, I know that there is a potential. You are more than what I'm just seeing. You are more than...
Speaking on who I was, who I am, and what I will become. Conversations of redemption. Conversations of redemption.
The Mile High City. Denver is a city that sits high enough to make things honest. At this altitude, you feel everything that you're carrying. Not all at once, but consistently. The air is thinner here, the noise is lower, and when the distractions start to fall away, whatever you've been holding on to starts to speak up. People come to Denver looking for perspective, for space, for room to breathe. But what this city really offers is nowhere to hide. Denver isn't a city of spectacles, it's a city of process. Growth here isn't dramatic, it's earned. One step, one breath, one decision at a time. That's why Josie's story belongs here. Her work, her voice, her philosophy all center on one simple but uncomfortable truth. Everyone carries something, and silence doesn't make it lighter. In Denver, Josie speaks about storytelling not as a performance, but as a responsibility. Not the polished version, not the after picture, but what actually happened. She challenges the idea that pain has to be extreme to be valid, that trauma must be catastrophic to count, that someone else's suffering disqualifies your own. That mindset, comparison, minimization, dismissal, is one of the quietest ways that people learn to disappear. And this city understands that danger. Because when you're surrounded by mountains, you learn quickly that pretending you're unaffected doesn't make the climb easier. Josie's story isn't about collapse. It's about permission. Permission to stop ranking pain. Permission to tell the truth without explaining why it counts. Permission to speak about things before they're neatly resolved. Denver doesn't reward denial. It rewards presence. This conversation isn't about fixing yourself. It's about refusing to abandon yourself. This is Denver, where healing isn't announced, it's practiced. And this is a conversation about what happens when people stop carrying their stories alone. So tell me about the show and what you've got here. It sounds incredible.
It's called Exposed Storytelling. We started, our first show was December 2022. So I've been doing it coming up on 3 years. It is primarily birthed out of my experience coming out of COVID. So I was doing storytelling events that were more like entertainment focused. One big project was called Bedpost Confessions, and that one was focused on like fun topics, kink, sexuality, BDSM, edgier stuff in that realm. And it died in COVID. We lost all of our money on the venues we had booked and had to give ticket refunds. And the people I was doing it with leaned into their therapy practices, so they opted out of doing it. And so when COVID was ending, I got encouraged by my community to put on another show. Tried to think of really like what to call this idea, and Exposed fit perfectly. The idea is we all came through COVID for the first time in a lot of people's lives willing to say, I'm not okay and I need help. Because it became socially normal to just accept that nobody's okay. None of us are actually okay. And then the moment life flipped back on and the world started to be open, people started to go to bars and cafes and see their friends and all these things. Now the pressure of sitting in a cafe and saying the things that we've been saying to each other is too high for most people. And so, how are you today? I'm fine. That was the immediate
That's the default response.
And I'm fine with that. Nobody should go to a barista and trauma dump, but if the only place you're saying your trauma is behind the closed doors of a therapist's office, then you're not experiencing that in community. You're just doing that to someone who's not allowed to be your friend, who is going to judge you in a medical way, and like a mentality of the world is not there to help you build community. It's there to help you air your grievances and help you move through them, and hopefully we all use therapy in a way that is beneficial.
Sure.
But I do not believe that you can say you are progressing in your world if you're not actually representing yourself to your community.
Oh,
Something I'm picking up that you feel very passionately
very
about as well.
Yeah. I'm very anti-therapist.
I'm not.
I'm not. I guess I'm not.
I'm not
I'm
anti.
not anti-therapist. I don't. It's just not healing. It allows you to trauma dump on
Yes,
somebody that
yeah.
can't be your friend.
And I know
And most
narcissists
of
that
these-
manipulate their therapists.
Facts.
Yeah.
And most of these therapists learned everything from a book,
Right.
and that doesn't internally and intrinsically it doesn't do much for a trauma victim to just dump it on somebody that's never been there.
It can be a great first person to say these things to if you struggle with that.
Right.
If
You
you
have
don't
a difficult
have-
time opening up.
Yeah.
It's a great way to break that ice.
It is. And I think for me, that was a big part of it. So I really struggled before coming out. So I moved to Colorado to come out. And the whole idea there was that I didn't think people in Michigan, and I think I made the right call. I don't think people in Michigan would have kept up at the pace I needed support in. And I guess I didn't really have that too much here either, but it was easier because it was just more talked about.
Sure.
And then when I started thinking about how do I continue my trend of wanting to do storytelling shows, I wanted to take it in a bigger realm. I didn't want it to be so niche. Everybody has trauma. And what's developed from it is the sort of motto of the show is we're all fucked up. And I think that's a very connecting thing to accept that whether you believe what I believe religiously, politically, ideologically, in any way at all, you know pain in the way that you know pain. And although my pain is different than your pain, I get those feelings.
It's the same. Oh.
And so this is the big draw. So when I started Exposed, it started with basically me going to my friends and saying, are you willing to talk about that thing I know happened to you? Because I was in a very open community of people.
Yeah.
And then it slowly has grown to, people I've never met before applying on our website. They saw an advertisement. They're like, I feel inspired to tell this story. And I've had, I don't know, at least a dozen people of the 80 that I've worked with that have told me I have nowhere else to tell this story.
Yeah.
And to feel like there's people that exist in my world that just don't even have a place to tell their pain, especially some of these stories. I mean, it's not, they've not done something wrong. Something just happened to them. It wasn't even, some of them aren't even violent. It's just loss. It's just death.
Yeah.
And to feel like we're so scared to talk about this stuff makes me sad.
It
makes
is
me
sad. It is sad. And people get trapped in that cycle for their whole life. And they don't get to, like, a funny thing I saw was this guy named Sadhguru on Instagram. He's like this Indian from Tibet or something like that. But he gives this worldview where he says the purpose of life is to live. And we all think that we have this God-given purpose. How special are you that God has a purpose just for you, right? What if God doesn't know that you exist?
Yeah.
Right? What if we have that all wrong? You're missing out on this whole beautiful thing called life, and trauma does that to us.
Yeah.
Like we get stuck because we don't have an outlet to get it out, and the body will keep score, right?
Yeah.
Like it will manifest itself in diabetes or cancer or one of these other things, or mental disorders where you just can't handle life. And yeah, people need to be able to get that out, which is why I believe in like social media and podcasting and stuff like that. Because while it's a very toxic place, because of people that have ignorant opinions and don't have a filter and just will
Plenty
just
of them.
say things, it can be such a healthy platform for people that have never talked about, like what you said, to be able to speak your pain out to a community, right? It does.
Yeah.
It's something so much more profound about that, because it's scary as fuck to do that.
Yeah.
But
it's
on
healing.
the other side of that is your freedom. There's where your greatness is, right?
Yeah.
That's where it lies. And it's not easy. It's hard.
Sure.
But that's the point. Like
It is.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And if you do the things that are hard, life will be great. if you do the things that are easy, life will be hard,
We like doing hard things.
right? If we do the easy stuff, life sucks,
Yeah.
right? It might be easy now, but then you're going to end up homeless, broke, with nothing, shattered, broken, addicted.
Right.
But if you do the things that are hard, life will be great and life will be free.
Yeah, we have so far put, 3 years of shows together, and so we basically just say to anybody, if you have something that you're ready to talk about, you don't need to be a writer or performer. You don't need to have this ability to perform and captivate. There are gregarious people, enigmatic people. We can walk up on stage and say something that people will enjoy. But for the most part, what we find is like the folks who really feel driven to speak in our show are typically not ever been on a microphone before or haven't written anything since high school, 30, 40 years ago. But we have, every age range, we have every gender, we have every political belief. We've had such a diverse presentation of storytellers. And throughout the whole thing, the motto has never changed, the rhetoric has never changed, the idea has never changed because it just works every time.
Yeah.
And we help them write it. So they submit a draft to me of some capacity of writing that's
Sure.
all over the gamut. And then I sit down and I help them develop it. And the thing that I've learned that I'm just good at, and this was me stumbling into a life purpose and something that I believe in so wholeheartedly, is that we all do have that story to tell. You just need someone like me to sit down and say, you're telling me that this is the story, and what you're not saying is the thing that you always don't say.
Right.
You're telling me the after fact, what actually happened. And so Exposed is the place where we talk about what actually happened. We don't come in to say, look at me now, I've grown, I'm better. We say, here's what happened, deal with it.
Yeah.
Mic drop moment.
So, how often do you do these shows?
So the cadence has been monthly until this year. So we just did our fourth city on Tuesday, and that was actually just down the block. It's Aurora. It feels like Denver, although I get to check it off that it's a different city. So it was cool. So we partnered with an organization that helps put folks with disability in performance roles. So we took all performers with disabilities, had them write their story, the exact same show, same process. Stories weren't about their disabilities or anything, just about trauma. And then the show was built with, super titles and subtitles, and, the lights were dimmed, and there was, no strobe, no nothing. And it was all wheelchair accessible. It was all, as to the best of my total novice ability, which I realized is obscenely novice. I tried to build the show with the intention for folks with disabilities to be able to perform in it and come to it. And we had a really fantastic turnout, and I'm really excited to push more into it, because if at the venue we have here in Denver, it's this older theater. It used to be like a Nickelodeon view house. It's been there for a very long time. You can get a wheelchair in the audience. You can.
There's a way.
One
to get
spot.
one in there.
But if you want to get them on stage, you would have to build out a whole thing. So there's no accessible way. So if you have trouble with 5 stairs, you're never getting on stage. And there's not a way in the back or anything. But I love the venue. Absolutely phenomenal place. It's called The Bug. I really like working there. But I wanted to be able to do this outreach into a community of people that typically we just don't know. And also, they have trauma that's got nothing to do with their disability. And that's what I wanted to really get into.
Yeah, and there's something about, so I have this theory that I've designed called comparative trauma syndrome. And it's funny because I just had somebody that messaged me this morning on Instagram and said the exact thing that I'm always talking about. In fact, I'll show you. Here, this line.
But none of them as bad as yours. But none of them as bad. So on stage,
I can't tell you how much I hear that.
All the time. Or what I hear. And so being relatively new at this still, and like having a very local voice, and even within the local voices is still niche thing that I'm trying to pull together, is this idea that like my story's too much, or my story's not enough. And I love this total opposite spectrum. And it's like, oh, you're only allowed to talk about your trauma if it's some entertaining sweet spot.
Right.
And this idea of too much has been like thrown at people. The moment I stopped having this like social perception fear, this like presenting myself in the world a way that I didn't want to, or masking, or the gender stuff comes into that too. The moment I really just like let go of this perception idea of I can change how people perceive me, what I realized is I'm always going to be too much for some people, and I'm never going to be enough for some people. And when I talk to the people who say these things to me, it is always, this is actually the place where you can come and say those things. Because I'm never going to say your trauma is not pain. I'm never going to say your massive, intense moment of your life is not worth talking about.
Yes.
And that has resonated with people at every single show we've done. And this year we are taking it on tour. So there's a theater festival called Fringe.
Oh.
And a mentor of mine basically came to my show, saw an advertisement, sat in the back of the venue. She says within 5 minutes she knew that she would perform in my show, and by the end of the show she knew that she would work with me, which is pretty inspiring. And so she invited me over and was like, you should apply to this festival called Fringe. And I just did it, and then I Googled what is Fringe, what did I just sign up for? So
I signed up first and then I researched it.
Yeah, I tend to be like that a little bit.
I always talk about there's two types of people in the world, and they're like downhill bikers. Some of them study the map and they look in every nook and cranny and corner and twist and turn before they ever get on the bike, and some of them get on the bike and learn it on the way down.
Yeah, that's me.
I'm the learn it on the way down kind of guy.
So we do 9 cities this year, 4 done. I leave on Sunday to go to Kansas City. We have 7 or 8 shows there as part of this festival. So it's a shorter format show, same show, shorter format. And then we go to Canada. We do Edmonton, Calgary, Victoria, and Vancouver.
Can't go to Canada. No felonies.
Yeah.
I really want to though. I've got some. I might hook you up.
I'm like debatably not coming back.
Yeah, so I've got an artist up there, really fantastic. He does.
Do you know where he's at?
It's painting, with pain.
Painting.
Right. It's like this abstract art.
Sure.
But it's so basically you grab paint, take somebody that's got trauma, and just let them go on a canvas and just put it in there. And then when you're done, we're gonna section it off. We're gonna make it beautiful on this. We're gonna curate it all up, and it's a beautiful work of paint art.
What?
Right, and then we'll auction it off, and it's like, dude, that's
amazing. Where is this?
It's amazing. And this guy's like a former alcoholic and drug addict, and now he's really big into like the child rescue.
That's inspiring.
Yeah, do that, and just let somebody go in there and go fucking ham on a canvas. I'll just let it out,
and then help it along.
Right, and then okay, step away. Now I'm gonna do it all up, make it nice and beautiful. There's your piece of art. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? It's really good, and I think that
that is the exact same concept.
Yeah, there's so much healing available in the world. I think that people they don't know it, right? And then the comparative trauma thing is just, I can't tell you how many times I hear it. Like, my story is so huge that a lot of people would be afraid to tell it. For a long time, I was afraid to tell it. Right?
I can't imagine.
Because people won't believe you. People are going to say, oh, you just want attention, or you're just making it up. And you can't let that stop you.
Yeah.
Right? You can't, because fuck them. If they don't listen to it, look somewhere else, right? Because you're going to suppress people. My shit, while it seems really extraordinary on the outside, like, fuck, dude, you've been through a lot. I haven't been through half of the shit some people have been through. It's worth it to use our voices, to what you're doing. The platform that you're building will save lives.
Yeah,
it will.
I believe so.
It'll save lives.
Yeah.
Because somebody's going to be sitting in that crowd that's watching one of the people on your stage and your show and say, that exact thing happened to me.
Yeah, it happens often.
And if they can do that, I can do that.
Yeah.
And maybe I can get to where they are in their life. And so that's kind of my goal with my whole show and what I do in my life is I'm not telling you what to do. I can't tell you how to heal. I don't know what your pain feels like.
Right.
But I know that your pain feels like pain. Your trauma is just as valid as mine is. No matter what you've been through, it registers in our minds the same. And in our emotional development you can't tell the difference between you being raped 1 time and me being raped 50 times. You can't tell the difference.
Right.
It's still the same trauma. And by you letting it out, I know for a fact that it heals you. I've been there. It's not an opinion. It's a fact.
It's a fact.
The more you say it, the more you heal. The easier it gets to talk, right? That's called healing.
Narrative
But somebody
therapy.
else is going to see that, and you're going to inspire them. I can show you thousands of DMs that it inspires people. I can't believe it. I've been there. I did that too. Not as bad as you, but and so I try to fight to stop that narrative. But this is why we talk, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because so many people that go through trauma try to cure that invisible wound, because we can't see that pain. And we try to fix it with things we can see.
Right.
Drugs, sex, alcohol, gambling, caffeine. We try to mask it. We try
Yeah.
to cover it up like, oh, I'm fine. You can't fix something you can't see with something you can see.
It's an interesting
This
thing
little thing right here.
to talk about the shallowness that we see in the world, because if you think about why we might be shallow people, is if you let someone get deeper than your surface, they might actually see what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's a terrifying thing.
Terrifying.
And for me, owning the narrative and saying, I will give that to you and I will share that with you openly so that you can connect with it in your own way without having to feel like you're prying it out of me. That's what I think hosting the show. So the storytelling show is done in a fashion where so I MC it, and it's I build this narrative for the audience. I create the space. I hold them. I help them digest it. I walk them back from the edge that these stories put them in.
Sure.
We walk them into the forest with the stories, and I guide them back out.
Yeah.
And I create levity and joy and growth, and I acknowledge that we can hold all of that pain and we can see deeper into these people than maybe you've ever seen into anybody before, while also acknowledging that something that is funny is funny. Something that is sad is sad. If you're mad at the storyteller because they've done something wrong, the idea is that you let yourself be mad so that when you meet someone else, you can say, I know that there is a potential. You are more than what I'm just seeing. You are more than that surface level. And I have a line that I like to put on the stage. It's no more highlight reel. And I do think social media can be a powerful place, but I also see a whole world of people unable to access this idea that there is depth to the people that they're seeing. So you have a channel on social media and you're not exploring the depth of like your story or other people's stories. You're just showing this shallowness. Then that's the trend that you're creating. And for me, it was the experience of like suicidality and depression and anxiety and doing sex work and assaults and these like gnarly moments from my darkest place, that then when I just started talking about it, people identified with it, which inspired me to talk about it, which made more people identify with me, which inspired me to talk about it. And then all of a sudden I have a show, and now I have people that I've never met before come up to me after the show and just be crying and need a hug.
Yeah.
And it's probably the most powerful thing I could ever imagine for my life, and I get to do it as
one of the things I think
passion.
I think is so powerful about what you're doing is you started off creating this environment that we know what's about to happen is some seriously traumatic shit.
Yeah.
And you prep people for that. You brace them for that.
I also dress as
And
a
then
clown.
they dive into the trauma.
Yeah.
And then you walk them back, like you said, and you pull them back out of it. And it allows people to be in a space of feeling and just to digest it.
Well, the nice thing too is I shroud them in darkness. It's a theater.
And so you can cry if you want to.
You can cry and you feel together, but you can just have the emotion you need to have.
Yeah.
And for about a year and a half, it was consistent that we had maybe 1 to 4 people leaving the show because it was too intense,
Sure.
or they didn't like the idea or whatever. That's fine. But the too intense one, like our company manager would sit in the back and try and console and see if they wanted to come back in. But now I learned I just need to express that this idea that it's too much for you is defensive. And if it's too much and you're feeling too much and you don't feel like those feelings are valid, then that's what this like triggered mindset wants you to leave. So now what I tell people is, I want you to feel what you're going to feel, but before you might exit the theater, look around, because if you're madder than hell at the storyteller, at what's going on in this story, or the person that did something to this storyteller, look around, because everybody's feeling that. If you're feeling something and you think you're alone in that feeling, you're fucking wrong.
Right.
And this is a thing that I use that is maybe it's popular in the sense that I think people see it's true, but it's a little aggressive in its messaging. Is you're not special because you have trauma. And comparative trauma would be a great way to say that.
Yeah.
You're special because of how you have grown from your trauma.
Yeah.
And when I think people who don't see the show and will send me things on Instagram, like the "my story's too fucked up, you couldn't handle it" thing, is this idea that there are people who think their trauma is what defines them, and then that I'm tough because of my trauma. It's like, no, you're tough because you've moved through your trauma, I hope. Or you haven't at all,
No.
and you might actually not be that version. You might be masking still. You might be that surface level version of yourself. And every single person I've had come through my stage has had a powerful experience, whether it be I really enjoyed the process or a really, really powerful performance experiences. But I mean, we have now, I think over 80 folks have been through my stage. We've done 160 stories, 36 shows, 40 shows, something like that. And there's not one that at least a little handful of people left the show feeling better
Wow.
or changed or grow.
It's incredible.
And I came from a life of professional LGBTQ activism,
No.
and I basically that's not how I think I can change the world, by finger wagging and
Yeah.
jumping down throats and pitchforks and torches. My thing is
Art.
art. Yeah. Little did I know. I'm a
Right.
30-year-old theater kid for the first time.
Yeah.
And this experience has been a representation of just all of the things I've been through have put me in a position where I say, I can read this story and help you write something beautiful and powerful and fucked up.
Yeah.
And then go and host a show and make your story reach voices that you would never have reached in your life.
Yeah. No, I think what you're doing is just incredible, and it's mind-blowing to you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah,
And I think
happy
what
to
you're
do
doing
it.
is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I'm excited to follow
doing it, man.
what your journey is
I
here.
would love to catch one of these shows.
What Josie reminds us of is that trauma doesn't need permission to exist, but healing often does. One of the most dangerous habits we can learn is comparing our trauma or our pain to someone else's. To decide it wasn't bad enough, to decide that we should be grateful that we don't deserve a space to speak. That belief doesn't make us strong. It makes us silent. And silence doesn't heal anything. Denver teaches us something different. That at this altitude, progress isn't about speed, it's about consistency. Showing up, staying present, taking that next step even when the summit isn't visible yet. Josie's story doesn't offer a finish line, it offers a framework. That telling the truth isn't about attention, it's about integration. That community doesn't erase pain, but it makes it survivable. That healing doesn't always feel like relief. Sometimes it feels like honesty without anesthesia. If this conversation slowed you down or made you uncomfortable or forced you to rethink how you talk to yourself about your own experiences, that's not failure. That's awareness. You don't need a perfect story to speak. You don't need resolution to be valid. You don't need to compare your pain to anyone else's to learn compassion. This series isn't about proving how broken people were. It's about witnessing how honest they're willing to be. This is Denver, where the climb isn't about being impressive. It's about being real. And sometimes that's the bravest work there is. We'll see you guys in the next one.